guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. Of course, I have my husband here with me.
Hi guys.
For this video. This video it's a little different from my normal smiling, laughing video. I just wanted to come and just share this this chapter, or we just wanted to come and just share this chapter of our life and this experience that we had, and hopefully our experience can help somebody. It can shed some light on what happens to women and families, because as much as I would say it happened to me, it happened to both of us because it was a family experience. But then before I start crying, let's just get right into this video. Just sit back, relax, and just listen. So I'm just gonna do a backstory. We found out that we were pregnant with our little girl. We named her Zoe. We found out that we were pregnant with our little girl during COVID. It was, I won't call it an unexpected pregnancy. It was something that we both wanted. It was something that we had been praying for, because before that, I remember like every Mother's Day I would just always just bawl my eyes out and just ask myself, like, why am I not getting pregnant? Like, what is happening? Like, I feel like me feeling that way was just taking a strain out on our relationship, because it was like the only thing I wanted to talk about, the only thing I thought about every single day. And I was just like, why has God decided to do this to me? Like, why is this happening to me? People who didn't even want kids were getting pregnant. Like, it was just a very frustrating time for us. And that was after I had had my, was it my first fibroid procedure?
I think your second. My
second fibroid procedure. And then we went to a different doctor, a different hospital, because we had moved. So we decided to go to a different hospital just to check things out, just to make sure that everything was fine. And they said that I needed to have another fibroid procedure. And after that procedure, we're supposed to wait for at least 2 months before trying to get pregnant. Bear in mind that I was never one person who, I never took birth controls. I never had any implants. I never had any IUDs. So I was just like, why the hell is this happening to me? Because my mom never complained about having fibroid. I'm like, so what's my own difference? Why? So we went for that procedure. And I remember the day we walked into the hospital for that procedure, I was so scared, because my first fibroid procedure, after that procedure, I was in a lot of pain. I went to that procedure with my husband and my mom. I was in a lot of pain. I came back home. I just couldn't walk. Everything felt different. And then I ended up being hospitalized for a whole week. And the honest truth is that till today, we still don't know what happened. We still don't know why I was in the hospital for 1 week. But then, God being grateful, God being good, I got better. I got out of it. So after our second procedure, it went good. It was like, after the procedure, we literally went to Burger King to go get food, because like I was perfectly fine. Like, I was walking, like the feeling in my leg came back like really fast. Everything was fine. I didn't even have to spend the night in the hospital. We came back home the same day. So we're both like really happy about it. And then like a month later, I go and I take a pregnancy test, and then I find out that I'm pregnant. And when I found out I was pregnant, like, I was like, I don't know how to explain my excitement, because I was so excited. Like, I told him, he was just over the moon. Like, he was like, finally, like, this has come. Like, God, thank you so much. It was in the middle of COVID, so like we're trying to be so careful, like, so I don't get sick. Like, everybody was just trying to be careful. Like, I told my mom, I told my brothers, I told my dad. My dad was my dad even cried. I would insert a clip, if I find it, I would insert a clip somewhere so you guys can see, like, me telling my dad. He was so excited. Like, I'm the first one among my siblings to be married, and I'm the only daughter, so it was just a really big thing for my dad and for his family. Like, it was just a really big thing. So we're going through the whole pregnancy. Everything was fine. Like, I had cramps here and there, but it wasn't anything that was serious. And then one day we had like just bleeding from nowhere, and I started freaking out. And I think I kind of like I think I even my mind was just like completely blank, because he kept telling me, babe, find the address to like the nearest emergency room, find the address. And I literally went to go find an emergency room that was like an hour away. Like, I don't even know what was happening to me that day, but like my mind was not there. I was completely lost. And then we ended up going to the emergency room. The baby was fine, and they were like, oh, it's just some bleeding here and there, excuse me. So the rest of the pregnancy was going on fine. Christmas time came, I was fine. And then beginning of this year, which is January 2021, our baby was supposed to be due in May of this year. So January of 2021, everything was fine. I went to work, and then I noticed that I had started leaking water, but I never really paid attention to like the leaking, like what was happening, because I told him, I'm just like, ah babe, I'm leaking water, like, is this a part of pregnancy thing? And he was like, he doesn't know, he doesn't understand what it is. So I would wear pad, and I would change the pad. It was getting somehow. It wasn't like it was leaking water that had a very weird smell or something.
At first I think you thought it was because you know, when you get pregnant, a lot of things happen to a woman. You know, she her body feels different to start with, and down there is like a different experience for her as well. So we thought it was one of those changes.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't worry about it. We thought, because they whenever she went for her appointments, the doctor said like your body will be changing and all of that. So we thought that was what it was, and because it wasn't like gushing or anything, like, it was just like, it was more water than you. Not water, more wetness.
Discharge.
Is that discharge or wetness?
I don't know.
It does not. It's because discharge looks bad. It was more wetness than she experiences, because she was changing more often.
Yeah.
And then she actually went to put on pads. That's the time I was like, okay, I think we need to go talk about it.
Yeah.
But we did talk about it. I think they told us that it's normal.
Yeah, and the doctor was like, it's a normal thing. So we didn't pay attention to it. And by that time, I had a coworker who was also pregnant, and she's older than me. So I had asked her, I'm like, oh, I don't know what is going on. This is what's happening. And she was like, honestly, Ada, I can't really tell you or like give you any advice, because I don't know what it is, and it's never happened to her before, which I clearly understood. It's not everybody this thing happens to. So I came home from work on Saturday. It was a Sunday. I was at home, and he had gone to work, so I was by myself. I was doing laundry, talking on the phone. I was talking to one of my friends, like just regular FaceTime, catching up. And then she's a nurse, so I was just telling her, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me, or look, I've just been leaking water, leaking fluid, and she has a baby too. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. She was like, you know what, why don't you just call the hospital? Why don't you just call? It's no big deal. Highest, they will just tell you to come in, do some checks and everything. And I'm like, it's the weekend, you know, it's the week. She was like, just call. No matter what, you see a midwife, you see somebody. And so I was like, okay, I'll call you back. So I hung up the phone with her, and I called, and they were like, okay, we'll call you back, let's just get a hold of a midwife. And the midwife calls me back and was like, oh, I don't really know what it is, but why don't you just come in, let's just check it out just to be sure. And I'm like, okay. So I called my friend back, and I'm like, the doctor said that they said I should come into the hospital, so I'm gonna go. Let me just change my clothes, get ready, and go to the hospital. Like, I was being very, very sluggish about it. I don't know why I was being very sluggish about it. I sent him a text message saying, oh babe, I'm going to go to the hospital. I called, they said I should come in. He was like, okay, no problem, just be careful, drive safe. And then I started looking for my car keys. I couldn't find my car keys. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So it happened that he had taken my car keys with him to work with his own car keys too, which right now, it's never happened before. And right now I would say thank God he took my car keys, because from there everything just went downhill. Honestly, I called my mom before leaving the house, and I told my mom, I'm like, let me just wait till the next day. She was like, no, Ada, you need to go to the hospital, just go, since they've told you to come in. So I called an Uber. I even dressed like a mad person going to the hospital. I was wearing sweatpants, my pajama shirt was inside with sweater over it, because it's the dead of winter. So I get into the hospital, they check, and the nurse, like, they put the whole baby monitor thing over my stomach. Like, I was there taking videos to send to him, like, oh, I'm in the hospital, I'm fine. And they're like, oh, your baby's doing fine. And then the doctor comes in, and she's like, oh, let's just check your cervix to make sure everything is fine. And she's checking, and another doctor is standing next to her, and she looks at the doctor, and she gives the doctor this look, and I'm like, what's going on? And she was like, well, ma'am, you're almost 3 centimeters dilated. And I started laughing at first, and I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, yes, you're almost. I'm just like, it's not possible because I'm 21 weeks pregnant. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, please, if you're joking, just stop. She was like, I'm not. You are almost 3 centimeters dilated. We're just gonna keep you here for a little bit and try to get a hold of your doctor. And then from there, I just started crying, and I called him. I'm just like, babe, something is going on. They're like, I'm 3 centimeters dilated. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know if I made a mistake. Maybe I should have come to the hospital earlier. He was like, you need to just calm down. I'm leaving work. I'm coming home right now. So he's driving like a mad person to make sure he gets to me. Like, I was worried because there was snow on the road. I'm like, I don't want him to get into an accident. I don't want anything to happen to him. I'm here in the hospital. So luckily for us, our doctor was on call that weekend, so he was there. So he comes in and he's like, oh, Adaeze, I'm so sorry this is happening to you, but you're dilated. The only thing we can do now is to do an emergency cerclage. Hopefully this helps, but we're not 100% sure that's gonna help. We're not even 50% sure it's gonna help because we don't know if bacteria has gotten in, if you've gotten any kind of infection, because your water has, it seems like your water has been broken. It's been leaking for a long time. And I'm like, but I came into the hospital and we talked about this, and you guys said it was a normal thing. And he was just like, yeah, it's something, they probably just missed it. It's like an honest mistake. It wasn't, it's not something that they did on purpose. So I'm like, well, I can't do anything right now. I have to wait for like my husband to get here because I'm by myself, and they're like already talking about shipping me or sending me to another hospital that was like 2 hours away to go get the procedure. So he comes and they explained everything to him, and we're like, they said, oh, we're gonna give you guys 2 options. You can just terminate the pregnancy right now and just give birth to the baby, or you can do the cerclage to buy yourself some time and to buy the baby some time to at least 24 weeks. And in my mind, I'm just like, I don't care what people are saying. This baby that I've been praying for so long, finally people want me to just terminate the baby like that. So I'm like, that's not happening. So he kept looking at me like, babe, it's your choice, like tell me what you want to do. And I'm like, we're gonna do the cerclage. So they start an IV, they start everything, and then I get in the ambulance, and he has to follow behind, and we get to the second hospital, and the doctor that we meet there pretty much tells us the same thing. And he's like, even as I'm doing this cerclage for you, I don't know if when I'm stitching up your cervix to hold it tight, I don't know if I'm going to be leaving in some bacteria in there that can cause anything, but we just have to be positive about it. And he asked us again, are you pretty sure this is what you want to do, or you just want to just wait till you go into like labor, you start having contractions, and you just have the baby? And I'm like, nope, we're going to do the cerclage. I don't care. And he was like, okay. They scheduled me for the procedure the next day. I went in, they did the whole cerclage procedure. It was literally one of the worst pain that I have ever felt, because first of all, I was in reverse Transdellenberg position. I don't know how to explain it. So it's like my head was down this way and my legs were up, just because they tried to like make sure like everything was backed up so they could so they could stitch it up. And it was so uncomfortable. I was feeling dizzy. Like I could feel the stitches even though I had gotten anesthesia. So it was just really, really painful. And then after that, we spent the night in the hospital, and then the next morning they checked. I had no temperature, I had no fever, I was fine. And then they let us go and we came back home. So my mom had asked, oh, are you sure you're fine? Do you want me to come? And I'm like, no, don't worry, I'm okay, just stay at home, I'm fine, because my parents live an hour away. So I'm like, no, don't worry, I'm fine. And he asked me, do you need me to stay or I should go to work? I'm like, you can go to work. So he goes to work. I'm by myself at home, and at like 1 a.m. in the morning, I was already sleeping, and I woke up and I'm like, I called him. I'm like, babe, there's something wrong. Something is wrong with me. I'm just in a lot of pain. My back hurts. I don't know what's going on. Something is wrong. And he's like, you know, babe, just try to be positive. You know, you just went through procedure. Just try to be positive, you know. Just try to sleep. And I'm like, okay, no problem. So I forced myself, I went to sleep, and then at like 5:30, 6 o'clock, the pain was getting unbearable. So I woke up, I was literally crying, and I was just like in a whole panic mode. And I called him, I'm like, babe, something is wrong, something is wrong. Like, I don't know what is going on, but my legs hurt, everything hurts, my back hurts, like this pain is unbearable. He was like, okay, you need to go to the hospital. So I called my mom, I let my mom know what's going on, and then he was like, just make sure you don't drive, call an Uber. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call an Uber. So I'm trying to like get up so I can like dress up a little bit because it's cold, and even just moving my leg or just walking was just a whole painful like process. And he was calling me, my mom was calling me. It's like my mind was just, I was just scared. So I called the Uber, going down the stairs. I don't even know if I locked the door in the house. I don't even know. Like, I just managed to I wore his clothes pretty much, and I usually just used my butt to go down the stairs. I got down the stairs. I was sitting down at the bottom stairs, and the Uber driver pulls up, an elderly white man, and he's looking at me when he was driving onto the street, and he's looking at me like, what the hell is going on? And he winds down the window. He's like, ma'am, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm pregnant, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm in a lot of pain. So he literally just runs out of his Uber, he picks me up, he puts me inside his car, and he's just speeding down the road. Like, the way this man is speeding, you would think I'm his wife. And we get to the hospital, and he's yelling like, oh, I need a wheelchair, I need a wheelchair, there's something wrong with her. And they bring out a wheelchair, and you're like, oh sir, you're not going to follow your wife inside? And he's like, no, she's not my wife, I'm just an Uber driver. So they take me in, like they're trying to monitor the baby. The baby was doing fine, like baby was doing fine. There was no elevated heart rate, nothing. The baby was just perfectly fine. It was just me who was just in a lot of pain. So we go in, and you're like, oh, your contraction has started. At this point, I was by myself. I was yelling, cut this baby out, because I was just in a lot of pain. And then the doctors are there telling me, oh, we can't give you any epidural because I had like a really bad infection. I didn't even know that my temperature was up to 103, because at that point, like from what he explained, is like I literally looked like I was dead on the bed. They couldn't find any veins to give me any kind of like IV fluid or any kind of antibiotics to help. So I had like, I was laying on the bed with my hand stretched out, and I was by myself, and he wasn't there yet. So it's like I was telling them, like, you're not touching me until my husband comes. Nobody's doing anything because I'm by myself. What if something happens to me here? You are just gonna leave me here? I'm like, no, nobody's touching me. So he gets there, and they were about to start taking off the cerclage, and I could hear him yelling from outside because they were trying to stop him from coming in. And he's like, no, this is like, do you want to tell them what happened?
No, you can go ahead, it's fine.
He's like yelling from outside, saying like, this is my wife, like I'm not going to let her go through this process alone. Like, I need to be in there. This is supposed to be like a family thing, like a family experience. Why would you people want to keep me outside? So the doctors were like, they should let him come inside. So he comes inside, and they're taking off the cerclage, and the doctor's face is like, she can see pus pretty much, and she's just like, there's just a lot of pus. They have to try to like clean it out. They don't even know what is going on. But they took off the cerclage, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna leave you with the antibiotics and just see how the contraction progresses. So at least he was there with me, holding my hand, and I'm like, okay, I want to sit up. I want to try to sit up, because laying down, the pain was not going. So he's sitting on the edge of the bed, and he helps me put my legs down, and I'm turning around to sit next to him, like I'm holding him like bent over like that. And like it wasn't even up to 5 minutes after, and I'm like, babe, I can feel something coming out.
No, I'm gonna put it back up.
I'm like, I can feel something coming out. And I'm like, help me, let's put my leg back up on the bed, because it was just both of us in the room. So he's helping me put my legs onto the bed, and the head of the baby literally just comes out by itself. And Jesus Christ, like I don't even know how I felt when the head of the, like, it just felt like something just came out. And luckily for us, the nurse was walking in, and she saw the expression on our faces, and she like paged the doctor. So everybody literally ran into the room at the same time. When they were running in, the baby's whole body was coming out. And I feel like at that point, after the baby came out, like all the pain, all the everything that was going on with me, like everything just I don't know how, like, it just everything just went away. And then at that point I literally started crying. I started crying because first of all, we were waiting to find out the sex of our baby, and then we found out that the baby was a girl. And
at that moment,
like, it was just a lot, because it's not as if she came out dead. She came out alive, and you could see that she was really, really trying to breathe. So like, they had her like wrapped up, and then they gave her to me. They're like, do you want to hold the baby? And I'm like, yeah, that's my child. It's not a stillborn baby. This baby is alive. You can see her breathing. You can see like her chest moving. You can see like she came out with like a lot of hair. She had like, I'm just like, God, this is something that I have been praying for the longest time. This is my daughter right here, and I'm just gonna hold this baby and watch her life just pass. Like, it was just a lot. Like, I just kept crying. Like, I called my mom. My mom was crying, and she just like, Ada, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, because oh Jesus, this is something that has, like, at that point I didn't know anybody else that this thing had happened to before. So it's like, I'm just there crying, and he's standing next to me. Like, you could see the pain in his eye, but he didn't want to say anything. My mom is crying on the phone. It's like, it was just a whole lot of emotion. So they were like, oh, do you want to drop the baby? Like, even to give them the baby to like measure and do all of that stuff, I refuse. I'm just like, no, like, don't touch the baby. Like, don't touch her. This is mine. She's mine. She belongs to me. But she was alive for like about almost 2 hours, right? And then they kept her in the room, and then they had to like literally like press my stomach for the placenta to come out. And yeah, that was it. Like, I don't know how to explain what happened. Up till today, I don't know. I blame myself. I've blamed the doctors. There's nobody I haven't blamed. I've blamed everybody for what happened. But at the end of the day, I give glory to God, because some other people would have gone through that process and they wouldn't have come out alive, because the doctor kept saying that I was really sick with that kind of really high temperature. Like, they had to give me like antibiotics back to back after everything. And I'm grateful to God that I came out alive. Am I sad that I lost my baby? Yes, I'm sad. I'm sad that I walked into the hospital with my own 2 legs. I walked into the hospital pregnant, and I left with a box of papers, my baby's footprints, and that's about it. And at that point, I had to pretty much start thinking about how to either bury or cremate my own child.
I think this video has come late because of how hard it's been to share the story.
Yeah. And
I feel like nobody ever deserves to have the experience of losing a baby, especially after you've wanted it for so long. And the moral of the story is not because we lost a baby. I feel like it's not just the fact that you're gonna lose a baby. It's like the emotions that go through, because you have to go through a couple of steps after you've lost your baby here in America, you know. And it's a different cultural experience. I mean, judging from where we're from, we're Nigerians, by the way. So I mean, I feel like we lost a baby. We thought like after the baby was taken away, the hospital was gonna take care of it. I don't even know what made us think that way. You know, it's a whole journey of its own. Because then right after the baby was taken away, we had to sign paper for the release of the body. We have to go to a funeral home. It's like it kept on playing out. Not even for that day that you lost your baby. It kept on being a thing that we had to live through, you know. It was basically for about a week after we lost the baby. We're still talking about we had to go to the funeral home, we had to sign papers, we had to decide what we want to do, if we want to buy a plot. It's like, you know, it's like a whole roller coaster of emotions for the both of us. And then, you know, it's something you cannot really describe. It's something you cannot really, you don't know how to talk about it. And it's not like it's not like something we sat down talked about, even from the point at the time when you went to the hospital. It's not like something we anticipated. So emotionally for us, we weren't ready for any of these. So it's just like hit us. So I felt like the reason why we are making this video is so you can understand where we're coming from, especially her as a person, understand what she's been through. And I know apparently, because since this whole experience, we've heard from a lot of people who lost more than one kid.
Yeah.
We know a family now that lost at least 3 kids back to back. So I'm not gonna sit over here and try to underrate their own personal experience as well. But I feel like the most important thing out of everything, you know, is to understand that I mean, is to be positive, like my wife would always say, and have a perspective about everything else, you know. Because it wasn't about like losing a baby. There are a lot of mental health issue, you know what I mean. I mean, I sat over there, and you know, like once a woman has had a baby, there's postpartum depression, you know. It's a lot of the things that happen to a woman that you never pay attention to. And then not just that you never had a baby, but you have to deal with these emotions. So for me, it was an emotional roller coaster, and I kept on hearing people telling me, you gotta be strong, you gotta be. I cannot even express mine. It's as like a bottled. You know how you tell you to be a man, you have to bottle in your emotion. I have to be that person who, and it was tough. You know, sitting back here thinking about it, it's not like we've gotten over it, because we still have the ashes of our baby. You know, we still have pictures, ultrasound, and all. We're never gonna trash that. We have people who are sending us things with her name on it. We're never gonna lose track of all of those things. So it's not like you go through it and one day you wake up and it's all over. No matter how many kids you have, it's something that lives with you for the rest of your life. And we hope that this experience of ours will encourage anybody who might have lost a baby. It's not an easy, but I think you need to have a what is that called? A network of friends.
Yeah.
Solid friends that you can rely on, because you cannot do it. There's no way you can do it on your own, you know.
Because even with the friends, it's hard. I know for myself, even till now, there are days when it just hits me.
The most important things that I learned is not about what people do, because people are going to do what people will do. But I feel like you at the same time should focus on what you want, what you're supposed to do for yourself. I felt like what we did was that really helped us at that time was to focus on ourselves. You know, we try to be as private as possible, limiting a lot of people meeting us, because then it would add a lot of muscle to the injury. And we took a lot of we took care of one another. And for anybody who's watching this video right now who is going through things, don't fixate on, you have a lot on your plate already for going through a loss already. You know, just focus on yourself. You and your partner should figure out what works for you, find your journey towards recovery and healing, you know. And then don't sit back there and start thinking about what's going on, who was there and what was said during the moment. It's not going to help you. You know, it's not going to help in the recovery process. It's just like you're digging the grave for that emotion. You're digging it deeper, and you're trying to bury yourself more in it. So we hope this video helps you, and we hope it encourages you. Yes. And we hope next time when we come your way, we'll have a more better news to share. Not like in this regard where she's crying.
I know. And
it will be more joyful news, happiness, and all of that together.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Remain blessed, you are loved, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Oh, and like always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And yeah, thank you guys so much. All right, bye.
Bye guys.